practice. Find people that are older than you or more experienced than you, and I think that's where I learned so much at a young age. Find the great doctors, find the great entrepreneurs, the great creative minds that think outside of the box, and follow them around and watch them and learn from them and just listen. And I think that's really where a lot of the wisdom and knowledge comes in to help patients, to treat patients, to help athletes. I mean, whatever it is that you're doing. I think it's truly just listening and taking a lot from those who have been through it and had to go through the harder parts of it so we can learn from that.
So many lives, but we still made it this far, even though they tried to stop us. I can't believe that we made it.
Welcome back to Inspired by You podcast. Today I'm joined by Dr. Tracy Warhop. She's a Doctor of Naturopathy, which is alternative medicine based on the idea that you could heal one without the use of drugs, using techniques like diet control, sleep, massage therapy, and exercise. So Tracy's focus is on functional wellness and athletic development. She's worked with nearly every professional athlete that you can think of, from NBA to NFL to golf, track and field, hockey, you name it. She's also the CEO of House of Health, where we're at today, which is a wellness and recovery facility, which is a very unique concept for this area. So holistic health seems to focus largely on healing the whole person. So how did you first become interested or involved in this field?
Yes, so I saw a real need. I mean, we have a true need in this entire country, in the United States, of natural medicine. We are a very sick country. We're very sick in many places, and our disease rate is high, our obesity rate is high, and we are at a point where we are going in the wrong direction. And when you see a need, that's where you kind of discover where you would like to be into. So natural healing was a start for me. And then through a little bit of my own journey, I got further into naturopathy and really found out what it offers and what it is, and got to work with some wonderful, wise, great doctors early in my years. And it led me to the path of being a naturopath.
Awesome. That's great. And like you said, most people see when they start something or venture on a new path, that usually they see a need or, a desire of some sort for such a thing. And so that's awesome that you were able to kind of pursue that. What are some misconceptions that someone might have about holistic health?
Great question. I think people seem very confused sometimes by holistic health, like it's some odd, wild treatment that they've never done, or it's something that's not safe, but it is the true medicine. It's the true natural medicine. I mean, we're talking about food, we're talking about sleep patterns, we're talking about oxygen, exercise and movement, and these are all absolutely necessary to live a good and healthy life. So naturopaths normally focus on root cause. I mean, just the root cause of disease, root cause of any symptoms that are going on. And I think people just need to understand that naturopathy is truly just a non-invasive root cause treatment that we're trying to find a way to get people healthy without having to do non-invasive treatments, or in a more natural way.
I think it's really cool that you talked about too how holistic health is really just all these things that we have in our everyday life, like sleep and food, that people might not even realize is a part of it. And then you also talked about how you guys are able to offer non-invasive testing and procedures and things like that. So House of Health offers a wide variety of services. What type of services could someone come here and receive that they might not be able to find elsewhere?
Yeah, so one of our biggest services is hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And hyperbarics is a pressurized oxygen treatment that has been around for many, many years, but is more, I would say, uncommon. And it is one of our greatest treatments that we see the most results in. So we do, which we call it HBOT for short. So we do HBOT, we do infrared sauna treatments, we have a cold plunge, we do a lot of recovery of hot-cold therapies, compression, and then we have a lot of great therapists who do manual therapy, massage therapy, physical therapy, and we also offer IV therapy. We have an IV lounge where our nurses do a lot of great vitamins and injections and such.
Nice. Can you explain the hyperbaric oxygen for someone like me who might just be stumbling upon holistic, health and might not know exactly what that procedure or treatment would entail?
Yeah, definitely. HBOT is pressurized oxygen, so you're going into a pressurized chamber, and it delivers oxygen into the body by pressurizing the body. So if you go back to Henry's law of physics, this is where this comes into play. And again, it's been around for many, many years. But when we're oxygenating the cell and pushing oxygen into the body, we can heal all treatments. I mean, we can help everything from neurological conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, autism in children is very common. We can do those treatments. Recovery, obviously for athletes, that's where I use it the most, for athletics. Preventative, it's huge for preventative meets and games, just to recover faster, to get the muscle cells, the tissue, and the brain. I mean, concussions, we treat every concussion we see, we treat in the hyperbaric chamber.
Wow.
Yes.
Man, I never would have imagined. That's extremely cool. Are there any challenges that you faced specifically as a woman in a male-dominated field like sports?
All the time, every single day. It's definitely a man's world in business and sports. And so I think a lot of times, most of the time, I am the only woman, and a lot of times the only one my age as well, that is treating in different ways, in natural medicine a lot. But even as a business owner, I seem to be the only woman who's in this field. Sports specifically is tricky because, I mean, we've got one chiropractor in the entire NFL that's a woman. I have actually never met another naturopath that works in sports. Yes.
Wow. Cool fact. That's interesting. As in the work that I do too, not podcasting, but for my 9 to 5, I'm the director of marketing for a nonprofit, and not specifically in marketing, but just age-wise, I feel like I'm usually alone, like you
Yes.
said, you know, of your age, and you know, in a male-dominated field, sometimes I'll end up being the only woman and the only person of my age in a lot of rooms as well. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's a little too uncommon that we are the only women in a lot of areas that we go to.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So you travel a lot for your job, whether that's, you know, going to for work or for, you know, going off to an NFL combine or, you know, things like that. How do you balance being a mom and a full-time career woman?
It's a lot, but you know, it's all about balance. We balance when we can. We're not always perfect and not always even, but my kids are wonderful and patient, and I have the best husband in the world. So it's really great when they all love sports too, so they love seeing me in sports. But it's about balance. It's about being a great mom and present when you're at home. And then when you're with the athletes or you're with, you know, sports, it's about really being present with them and giving them your all and really focusing on the individual when you're there, and not overworking, that's for sure. I love to work, but not overworking is key. And a supportive spouse and great, well-behaved kids will make that go a long way.
Her kids are very well behaved. They were sitting in here doing homework and things, you know, at her, you know, the business she's a CEO at. And so, I mean, that's a sacrifice for them, but also I'm sure they're happy to just be also in the same space as you rather than, you know, at home away from mom.
Yeah, exactly.
What advice would you give to someone who's starting a career or starting a business in a field like yours that's considered non-traditional or going against what's normally offered?
Great question. Advice, really practice. Find people that are older than you or more experienced than you, and I think that's where I learned so much at a young age. Find the great doctors, find the great entrepreneurs, the great creative minds that think outside of the box, and follow them around and watch them and learn from them and just listen. And I think that's really where a lot of the wisdom and knowledge comes in, to help patients, to treat patients, to help athletes. I mean, whatever it is that you're doing. I think it's truly just listening and taking a lot from those who have been through it and had to go through the harder parts of it, so we can learn from that.
Oh, definitely. That was a bar. That was I like that. And I think that's part of why I enjoy doing this podcast so much, because like you said, talk with, you know, other creative minds and people that have already been where you're trying to be. And so it's super nice and I always appreciate sitting down with people like you and the other people that I've talked to so far, because it elevates me as well while I'm, you know, having conversations with people. So this is going to be like a extremely random question with a sort of a story time with it. So last year I broke my hand. I had never had any injuries or even like as much as like sprained my ankle, like nothing. And then I was playing around on those motorized scooters, so it was definitely my own fault. And I like slammed my hand on the ground like this, and so it broke like my pinky from my hand, you know, right here. And so an injury like that, it's not like they can just cast it up. So what I had to get was like a pinning surgery where they stuck two metal pins like through my hand that held my like pinky and this finger kind of in place for about like a month or so. And so I went through obviously like muscle stiffness, like my hand didn't move, you know, I had like not even a real cast, it was like a metal mold that like had like it was everybody's like, what is wrong with your hand? So it was like a super, like I never, you know, I just being like super independent on my life and things like that, it was extremely weird to like not be able to, I couldn't lift anything with this hand and like, you know, just things like that. And then it was immobile for, you know, a month. So I went through like, maybe not extensive like physical therapy, but you know, twice a week, like treatment and having to like go and have them, you know, like work my hand out. I even had to get like a steroid shot once. There was so much like scar tissue and it still looks a little like, it looks better now, but it was a little janky for a while. But for the first time like since, so this was last year, like maybe a few months shy of like being a year, but for the first time, like last month, I was able to like actually make like, I forgot what this muscle is called where you can like roll your fingers up, but like make like a full fist and like actually, but that's after, you know, like 4 to 5 months of like physical therapy. And then finally, like later down the line, I'm able to like make a full fist. What I guess if, I didn't really know about, you know, like anything like this, like back then. Let's say, I don't know, even if I didn't want the surgery or I wanted to go through a non-traditional type of like physical therapy, what would you guys maybe had offered for something like the treatment for something like that?
Yeah, I love that because there are so many different options, right? And when we do have injuries or we get hurt, we're like, we trust the advice of people. So we're like, what do we do first? What do we need to do? And of course, all doctors are trained differently depending on our department or what area we work in. But, you know, that's where scans come in. Like, do we need surgery? Do we not? Of course, here at the house, we prevent surgery at any case possible. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes it's a bad enough break, like for example, or injury where surgery is needed. But what I think most of the time, one of the first things we do is get in the hyperbaric chamber. Hyperbaric chambers are in all the wound clinics in the United States because they're known to heal wounds faster than probably anything else we have. So if you've got a broken bone or if you've got an injury of some sort, we get right into the chamber, just like concussions. We get right into the chamber and we oxygenate that cell and we repair and recover as fast as we can. So HBOT would be my first thought.
Yeah, that's really, that's awesome. And even like the scarring, I was worried about having, you know, like they had to cut my hand and put, you know, shove kind of metal pins in there. So I was worried about like the scarring. And is scarring something you guys can take, like kind of help or assist with as well?
Yeah, definitely. Again, HBOT with the wounds and the scars for healing, faster healing. And not just faster healing, but better healing than you would have had without. But then, of course, we have physical therapy, we have massage therapy, which are amazing things for scars and injuries. And scars are neurological inhibitors, so it's very important to have them worked on. And that's where our therapists do a really good job.
Perfect.
Yes.
What role does nutrition play in our overall health and wellness?
Ooh, one of my favorite questions, everything. Nutrition is everything. And our food has changed, especially since the 1980s, so much. And not only are we not educated about what is good for us, but we're eating a lot of things that we think are great for us that aren't great for us. And everyone is very individualized. So the way I teach is very much to do with the individual. You know, their blood type, their lifestyle, their needs, their family. And like an athlete, you know, for example, a competitive athlete that's in football is not going to eat the same as you're going to eat. So nutrition plays a massive role and is probably one of our biggest conversations in our appointments.
Okay.
Yes.
I like that. You're a big advocate for fasting, and you often practice what you preach and fast yourself. What are some of the benefits to fasting?
Oh, fasting is my favorite. It took me years to get to the point that I'm at now. It takes time to practice fasting, but the biggest benefit is autophagy. It's the body cleansing and cleaning out I should say physical benefit, cleansing and cleaning out and detoxifying all of the mess, the dirty bathwater that's in the body that we can't get out when we're continually eating and eating and eating. One of my favorite spiritual benefits is just the prayer time, is just to be away from food. And trust me, when you're not eating, time goes slower than at any other time in your life when you can't eat. And at the clock, you're looking every 15 minutes and you're like, when is my next meal going to happen when it's been 3 days? And the spiritual benefits, when you can pray and you can spend your time away from everything else and just really grasp that time with God and just get away from everything in life. And so fasting for spirituality is great. Fasting for the physical gut is great. The brain, you're retraining your brain. But there's so many benefits to fasting.
Definitely. How can holistic health also assist with mental health and wellness?
As naturopaths, we study emotions and mental health more than I think most doctors do, or realize. That's another maybe misconception, is we study mental health so much. And myself, I treat a lot of athletes with mental health too. The stress that they're under, the emotions that they deal with family, with maybe previous trauma, but mental health is a huge advocate. And you cannot heal with just physical health. Healing is mental and physical together. There's no separation there.
And I think that's what stands out the most about holistic health, is the fact that it's, I mean, if you don't heal kind of every part of a person, then, I mean, are you really healing them, you know, in a sense?
Amen. That is the truth. Yes.
And I love what you said, too, about the mental strain that's put on, you know, athletes, whether they're in college or even some of the high school athletes that I know, like the Washington girls basketball team. A lot of pressure was put on them to, you know, succeed, and ultimately they didn't, you know, reach their end goal, which was state and some, you know, of the major accolades. And that even put a strain on them to like not reach that as well, as much as it did to reach it. And so I've seen that quite often. And then obviously college athletes have a completely different, you know, sort of mental health problems and that they can go through.
Yeah. I mean, every age, right? Like, it's like, we've got so much more pressure on high school athletes today than ever before. And now we've got paid college athletes. And now we have college athletes who aren't getting paid, but trying to provide maybe for themselves or family and get paid to recover or just to treat themselves to go further. And there's just so much pressure in sports today. So mental health has to be talked about in everything we do.
Definitely. And I think just over the last like couple years, I think athletes are speaking out more about like mental health issues they may have. Like Simone Biles, you know, was like, I'm gonna decide not to participate, you know, this year, like for my own mental health. And same thing with the tennis player.
Oh yes,
Naomi. I'm like,
yes.
what is her name?
Yep. I know you're talking about.
It's just. I mean, I can only imagine, you know, what type of stress they're under. I'm under stress in my everyday life, and I'm not even, you know, famous. So, another question that I've been kind of curious about, and I'm starting to ask more people that I interview, what did you want to be when you were a kid? Like, because I wonder how much that plays into, you know, like what people like decide to be as they get older.
Yeah. I think from a young age, I wanted to be something different. I think you find a lot of the same careers, and to me it was boring. I'm like, what can I do that's different? But I really wanted to help people. I actually had this little star that I made in 5th grade, and I pulled it out not long ago, and it's the first time I've seen it probably since then. And I don't like to save a lot, but I somehow found this, and it said, my goal for life was to cure all diseases. And I'm like, oh wait, I guess I'm trying to go along this path still. My parents would probably say I tried to win every argument, so they thought I was going to be a lawyer. But I wanted to change lives. And so I think it took me quite some time to figure out that naturopathy was what I really wanted to do. But now that I'm here, I'm so thankful that it did end up down that route.
Definitely. Yeah. What other, if you don't mind me asking, you said it took a while to get to the naturopathy. Was there any other career paths that you ended up taking and being like, this isn't really for me, or I'm not helping enough people with this, and then?
Yeah, definitely. Massage therapy, I'm a licensed therapist as well, and I started there and was still in school. And then I thought, okay, maybe I'm just going to be a licensed massage therapist forever because I loved it so much. But I always knew something was missing. Massage therapy is amazing, but when people come in with inflammation or obesity or just any issues, massage therapy is amazing, but it cannot cure the problem. And so for me, it was digging deeper. It's like, how can we give them every tool that they can use at home, but also come here and see us and we can help them. And so it led me down, again, that natural route, also sports. But then it got to a point where I'm like, how can I help them change their eating? How can we move lymphatics? No one's talking about lymphatics. Where are the lymphatic teachers and doctors? We don't have any. And so just so many areas that we needed to clean up. And so I thought, okay, I need more. Like, this isn't quite enough. It's wonderful, but we've got to take this to another level.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What was the hardest decision that you had to make to fulfill kind of this dream? If there was one.
Staying strong as a woman in a man's world all the time. Like, really saying, no matter what's said, no matter what's done, no matter how hard it is, that you're going to continue with it. When you don't feel like you belong, or you're too young, or you're a woman, or whatever it may be, that God still has a purpose for you. And it may be hard, but it's worth it every single day. It's rewarding every single day. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's just pushing through and continuing. So I would say being a woman is hard in that field, but just a business owner in general is running a business and being a naturopath at the same time. So treating people, but also running the business. It's a lot.
Definitely. And I think just in relation to that, and just something you said earlier too about a lot of people probably think like, oh, doctors and people in healthcare always make so much money, and like they're in it for like the money, but when you're in this business that you're in, like, it's so much more than the money. Like, you guys are really in it to like heal and help people, and I think it shows in the work that you guys do, and that's the main focus.
Yes, 100%. Well, naturopaths are trained to with good intention. I mean, we're immediately do no harm. We have our oaths that we take, and to treat everyone as an individual, as a human being. And so there's no in and out, we don't go in and out of the room and just, okay, what's the problem? 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later. I mean, we spend hours with people, and we don't turn away people when they can't afford things, and we do everything we can. And I think that's what separates natural medicine from conventional medicine a lot of times, is we're not patient pushing, we're not pharmaceutical pushing. We are about the patients, and they need our help, they need our education. And the word doctor means teacher. So if I'm not sitting down and teaching people how to go home and live a healthier lifestyle, I don't deserve the title. So there's a special title that comes with naturopath.
And I think the difference between this sort of medicine or this sort of healthcare and traditional healthcare is that naturopathy sort of help somebody be able to do it on their own, while traditional healthcare keeps you coming back, for them to do it for you, in a sense. And so I definitely think that's a good, or that separates the two for sure. Mm-hmm. Can you offer any practical advice or tips for listeners who might be interested in incorporating more holistic health practices into their everyday life?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I always start with a naturopath or someone who's going to help guide you into, where do I begin? Like, what is it that I need the most? Is it my entire nutritional diet base every day needs changed? Is it stress? Is it you are just working a job 12 hours a day and you're miserable? Is it past trauma? Is it emotional healing that really needs to take place? And so seeing a naturopath is going to help guide you in that way. And then we teach you to do it at home. And we're your accountability partners, so you can go home and practice that while you're at home. And then you come back as needed, and we just keep you getting healthier and healthier.
I love that. And this is a question that I ask everybody. Was there anybody that inspired you along your journey, or sort of might have been, you saw them and were like, wow, maybe I could, kind of be in that career path, or anything like that?
I wouldn't say any names specifically, but I will say just wiser doctors that taught me, or I shouldn't even say doctors, wiser human beings who taught me about really intentionally treating people well. They are all wonderful and helped me through the years of figuring out, I'm in school, is this what I want? How do I want to do this? How do I want to apply this? and just showing me that they cared for their patients and they cared that they got better when they went home, or just people in general that cared for other people. I wish I could say that there was a woman that I looked up to. They were all men that I got to work with, and they were all amazing people. But I think we need more women to step up and say, I'm going to take this role and I'm going to help the women that want to, whether it's get into this field or just become an entrepreneur and own a business, like just really teach them and help them through.
Definitely. And when I first started, I had like this podcast originally, and then I changed the name to Inspired by You because I started to realize that either we are inspired by somebody or like we're not, and we notice that, and then we say, hey, I could be that for the next generation. So I'm sure it could be even somebody that's watching this might be inspired by, the words that you say today, or just like you as they come in here, and they can be like, you know what, I could be that too, or I can, be a woman in business. And so I think that's why these conversations are important.
I love your name. I love that. That's amazing. Well, and that's where it starts, right? It's women doing that and knowing that every day is probably going to be difficult, but that's okay. Like that. I mean, we're survivors. It's what we do. We deal with hard things and we grow from them and we learn from them. But being able to show the women or entrepreneurs that it's possible and there is rewards and just great things in every day and it's worth doing, it's very important. So I appreciate that. That's great.
Definitely. So what are you looking forward to with House of Health, and where can people find you online?
So the website is houseofhealthusa.com. And we have Instagram, we have Facebook, I believe, and so social media. The website is probably the best way to find us online. You can always show up right here at the house. That's our nickname, called the house.
I love that.
This is a community environment, so I love walking in here and just seeing people sitting all over and they're just conversating and they're just hanging out, and this is for the community, not just the athletes. So that's the great thing about it.
It has that aesthetic and that vibe to it. Even when I walked in, it seemed like people knew each other. They just walked on back and everybody's kind of hanging out, and someone that worked here was like off work and they were still hanging out. It's just like, that's how we work. It's a good vibe for sure.
Yeah, football players are sitting in the chair, and then we've got other people like hanging out in the massage room just because it's comfortable, and that's what we do here.
Definitely. Anything else you want to say to the podcast, to the people?
I don't know.
Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate you having us out here. And this was a great conversation, and I hope that you enjoyed it as well.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Go get it, ladies.
Yeah.
I should have just given a shout out to the ladies.
I mean,